Alright, I got some more unpopular opinions for you all, and today it's going to be on the character of Brainiac. Now, not only is Brainiac a liked or a loved character by many of us, but of course there's going to be a fair share of unpopular opinions, and the one opinion I've seen back and forth on is whether he should be a Superman villain or a Justice League villain. But then I asked the question, is there a way to potentially make him a villain of both Superman and Justice League? But along with that comes plenty of other unpopular opinions and hot takes, so let's get into them. Okay, the first comment we're starting with is Ryan Smith. I think Brainiac sits in this weird place much like Darkseid, where writers can't decide if he's someone Superman can stop alone, or if he's a Justice League level threat. I know the power levels of many villains change to fit the narrative, but the inconsistency is annoying at times. I completely understand that, especially in the inconsistency terms. No one likes anything to be inconsistent, and comic books are a place where 9 times out of 10, everything's gonna be inconsistent. Sometimes we just have to deal with it and move on, but sometimes it can get annoying, and it does seem as if Brainiac is in that unfortunate position. 50% of the time, he is just skilled enough to take on the Man of Steel on his own. The other 50% of the time, he is completely dominating Earth and everyone on it. I'm not saying this is the only problem Brainiac faces, but I think the problem that a lot of these powerful characters face is based off of how they write the hero. So for example, Superman becomes so powerful over time that the only option you have is to make his villains just as strong as him. But eventually, Superman becomes so powerful, his abilities are upgraded beyond the max, or maybe even the rare time he develops a brand new ability. What happens with the villains is making them just as strong as Superman is no longer the answer. You now have to make these villains even stronger. We all love it when a hero goes up against a villain that they probably cannot beat in strength, power, ability, yet still always find a way to overcome that villain. And that is often what Superman needs to do with these villains nowadays because of how powerful they become. But once again, it still falls into this fine line of a category. Are they becoming more powerful than Superman, but only powerful enough where Superman could eventually outmatch them? Or are they becoming so powerful more than Superman that it does indeed now take a Justice League or more? Romulus Bonaparte. Brainiac's ultimate goal should be to take Metron's chair. Yeah, I'm actually surprised that hasn't already happened and that hasn't been a storyline in recent comic book history. I mean, the Metron chair is, in simple terms, a universal observatory. It can look across all space and time, give him any piece of knowledge that he wants. There is no boundaries on that chair, and even if there was a boundary, Brainiac himself is already so smart, he could break any chain, anything holding back that chair to its absolute max potential. The dominance of intelligence is Brainiac's thing, and 100% I understand why they did that whole storyline with Batman. We all know that Batman is one of the most intelligent people in DC. We all know that Batman is a very suitable character for that chair. But 100% I would definitely agree that maybe it would be more fitting for Brainiac. Why they haven't done a storyline of him searching out this chair and hunting it down, I don't know. Chance Prime. I always thought it would have been a cool twist if he was Lex from the future who came back in time to torment Superman secretly. Feels like it would have been a non-canon thing by now at least. Yeah, this is another one that's a little surprising to me too, considering we always get Elseworld stories that don't fall within the main canon timeline. Regardless if it's canon or not, it's a little shocking something like this hasn't happened either, considering DC loves playing around with the multiverse. Over generations, we've seen a bunch of characters from different multiverses, especially Lex Luthor, ones where he's bad, ones where he's good, some where he's super powerful himself. The fact that we don't have one where it's Lex is actually really interesting. I believe Lex to be the smartest human on Earth. He might even be within the top 10 of smartest people in the DC universe. If anyone would know how to become a Brainiac in the future to come back and torment Superman, he would. This also makes for a good what if story. The glove official. Brainiac should be a collector of knowledge. He could be like Odin from God of War Ragnarok. He always looks for power and knowledge by collecting and destroying planets, but after he has so much power, he is looking for what happens next. He is looking for all the answers in one piece all at once, and he should just be evil and hungry for power, and Superman is someone he finds as someone with a lot of power who should understand him but thinks he's wasting his power. So I actually made mention of this in a recent tier list video. It's part 1 of my tier list on DC villains, and I do have a little moment in there where I say Brainiac reminds me of the Reapers of DC. I am a huge Mass Effect fan. The Reapers are probably some of the best villains in pop culture history, and I do believe Brainiac shares a lot of interesting similarities. That's how I believe Brainiac should literally be handled. This super massive, intelligent AI being who goes around across the galaxy and across the universe, scouring out intelligent life forms and harvesting them for their own intelligence, but doing it for reasons far beyond our comprehension. And yes, whereas the Reapers are flat out evil from an organic human emotional standpoint, that is how we would see Brainiac from Brainiac's standpoint, an AI that has evolved eons past what we could ever comprehend. There is a very specific reason why he eradicates alien races and why he does all the evil things he does, but it is literally not for us to understand and something we cannot understand. So yes, 100% I agree with your take here, Glove. I am just adding a little bit of a Mass Effect twist to it that does make him feel a little more like an H.P. Lovecraftian type of a villain, type of a creature. So here are actually 2 opinions that are very opposite from one another, but I'm gonna combine them. Cecagna, who says, I hate stories where Brainiac had a role in the destruction of Krypton. The hubris and obstinance of the Kryptonians that led to their fall should be a timeless, poignant lesson for Kal-El and all of us. And then a comment from Chaderi Kamranali. I like the idea of Kara being the one to defeat him more than Superman because of his history with Brainiac destroying Krypton and her witnessing it. So this question of should Krypton be destroyed by the failure of the Kryptonians, or should they be destroyed by Brainiac? To be honest with you, I do like both. But I do side a little bit more with the fact that the Kryptonians failed themselves. As intelligent and dominant as their race was, they could not save their own planet, and that is something they had to die with. There is a huge lesson to be learned there, and it's even said by Superman in Man of Steel when he destroys the Krypton ship and says Krypton had its chance. It helps Clark not only learn lessons as a man on Earth, it also does help him learn lessons as the Kryptonian alien Superman and what he can help the humans of Earth do that his ancestors on Krypton never did. Although if you are going to take it from the side where Krypton is destroyed by Brainiac, which absolutely does make for an epic story, it does make sense for maybe Supergirl to have Brainiac more as her main villain than Superman, because she saw it with her own eyes. She got a taste of it. Superman was still a baby. Now, because there's so many comments of this, I'm gonna grab 2 comments that are about the same thing but are differences of opinion. Bruin Sports says, I think he works better as a Superman villain than a JLA villain. Barnabas Galanti says Brainiac should be more of a JLA villain rather than a Superman one. They can introduce him through Superman but turn him into a bigger caliber villain later on, one that the Man of Steel couldn't stop on his own. These are definitely 2 opinions that I can see both sides on. Brainiac started as a Superman villain, therefore it would be nice to see Superman keep his villains, because it always seems like a lot of his villains end up becoming Justice League type threats. Brainiac, Darkseid, even Doomsday and Mongol. So it would be nice if he could keep to himself what he owns. Although I do have to agree with Barnabas as well, because I think that is a really good starting point for Brainiac. In his adolescence, in an AI's terms, he goes up against the Man of Steel, and whereas he is still an extremely hard opponent, he does lose, which does make him fascinated with the Man of Steel and what else he can find out in the universe, because there's bound to be other beings out there with that type of power. Eventually, one day when he comes back, he is the almighty Brainiac, the absolute terrifying Brainiac who will dominate the world, and it does take an entire Justice League to handle him. Hero. Brainiac should be Superman's archenemy, responsible for creating Kryptonians via experimentation and kryptonite. In my headcanon, he experiments with Kryptonian minerals which are discovered on his ship. He should also always have robot replicas of him to steady across the universe. Maybe he finds that a Kryptonian is on Earth and sends a robot there to investigate. Guys, Reapers. That's all I can think of right now. The original Brainiac, or aka Harbinger, creates other versions of himself to make the harvesting process easier, more efficient, and it also makes them smarter and more powerful in the process. Maybe it's just my love for Mass Effect showing, and now it gets me all riled up and excited because I get to join Mass Effect and DC together, but seriously, Brainiac is the Reaper of DC. Okay guys, here is my unpopular opinion for Brainiac. Really, I wasn't even gonna give you an unpopular opinion, because my unpopular opinion was just connecting them to the Reapers of Mass Effect, and I don't even necessarily think I would categorize that as an unpopular opinion. But I literally just came up with this on the spot, like within a matter of a couple of seconds. Viewing Brainiac as the Reaper, what he does is the white Martians, they are actually a byproduct of Brainiac centuries ago, annihilating their planet and turning Martians into an even more deadlier race, changing the pigment of their skin and completely overriding and changing their physiology to make them more deadly and to basically serve his purpose. Just as the Reapers used the Collectors as agents in Mass Effect 2, that is what Brainiac does with the white Martians, and that's why over time the white Martians came back to Mars, wiped out the Martians, and then eventually one day Earth can get hit by the white Martians, in which they have to defeat them, in which the Justice League will end up finding out that their Harbinger is Brainiac. Many people don't know this, but I am writing a Mass Effect DC crossover, and honestly, I might now have to rewrite the entire story. But there you go, guys. There are some unpopular opinions on the Brainiac character. Now, if you didn't get the chance to voice your unpopular opinion in the community post, you now get the chance to do it in the comments below. And as per usual, make sure to keep an eye on the community post, as I will be posting the next character within the next couple of days. So other than indulging in my absolute love for DC, but Mass Effect heavily in this video, I hope you all did enjoy this segment of unpopular opinions, and until the next one, everyone, I will talk to you all very soon.